Quiltytube, I hope all's well. My name is Kirsty, Crafting Kirsty here on YouTube and on Instagram. It is Friday the 25th of November and it has been a very long time since I last recorded a Quiltytube, which is a video all about my quilts, my plans, my failures, and all good quilty stuff. It's been quite so long because there's lots of reasons. I mean, sort of just generally life, obviously, but I'm learning quite a bit about myself and my quilting dislikes and likes. And next year, as with my crafting, as with my cross stitching, I'm going to have a mass organisational plan that hopefully I'm going to stick to, and it's going to mean that I sort of continue things on. Anyway, whatever, it's been a long time. So if you're here, thank you very much. I have quite a lot to show you today, which I'm quite pleased about. So, although 3 of them are actually quilts that I was working on the last time I saw you, hence the fact I need an organisational plan. So, I have 2, but this is my first finished quilt top. So you've seen this an awful lot. This is just the very simple half square triangles in all these sort of neutrally earthy tones. Absolutely love it. Very, very simple. Somewhere in here there is a block that is not, oh, it could even be there. Look, you could be looking at it right there. I think that's it. But to be honest with you, unless you really look for it, you don't notice it. So I just left it. This isn't a quilt, this is a coverlet. So I haven't put any batting between the 2 layers. It's quite a big quilt. I intend on using it a lot. It's already on our bed at the moment. It'll go on the sofa. It's going to be a utilitarian quilt is the way I'm going to phrase it. So actually, with it being so big, I was going to struggle to get it into my washing machine. So I just thought, right, I'm going to leave the batting off. It was a very cheaply made quilt with regards to all the fabrics were sort of scraps from a shop. The backing is just, I was using up a whole load of these white on white, you can't even see them, white on white prints. There's a strip of yellow there to make up the space. And yeah, it was just a whole load of prints I wanted to get out of my box because I didn't particularly want to use them or like them, so I put them on the back of the quilt. Sadly, I was binding this as I was watching one of Laurie Holt's quilt videos, and I absolutely love Laurie Holt and her quilting videos. And she was talking all about the necessity of a gorgeous back on your quilt, and I was like, oh well, there we go. I fully understand it for really nice posh quilts, but this is not a nice posh quilt. This is just a very much bung it all together and use it. So because it isn't a quilt, it's a coverlet, and for ease of life, I ended up just hand tying this. So, see there's, sorry, I don't know, a couple of little threads. So I have basically, stop showing you the ugly back and turn it to the slightly prettier front. I have basically, between each square, just hand tied it. Very easy to do, very quick to do. You see, I love it. I mean, I really, really like it. You know, it's not an heirloom quilt, obviously. Sorry, I'm aware I've had to put this up higher so I can get my quilts in. I don't want my head being cut off completely. You might want to, but I would have to feel that I had to record it again. So anyway, so that is the first finished quilt top. Woo! The second fully finished quilt is one, again, that you will have seen in progress. And this is my, make sure I've got this right way up. This is my Alice in Wonderland. So this, all of these fabrics in the square, the sashing and the border were all part of a fat quarter bundle that Tulip Pink released last August or the August before. I bought it from So Hot UK and I just really liked it. Now, I mean, don't get me wrong, I like Tulip Pink, but her fabrics normally are not the type of fabrics that I would gravitate towards. But I love Alice in Wonderland and I just really, really liked this particular pattern line of it. So I bought it, I think I was sitting on a tractor, it's harvest time, I bought it whilst I was sitting on a tractor, thought I'll work out what to do with it later. And then I came across a video, I think it could have been Nicole's Needlework, talking about Laurie Holts' crazy papers. And I have actually got another set, but I didn't bring them out, sorry. And essentially these were 10-inch squares with, well, with this sort of cutout, you can see where all the seams are, marked on it. And how do you do it? Oh, you iron it on, sorry. So you get the paper, you get your fabric, you iron it on, you cut out that 10-inch square and then cut along all the lines, and it gives you all these different size bits of fabric. You then mix them all up together, and then you put them back together as crazy squares. So it's really, really simple because there are no seams to join. So from that point of view, it's very good. The only thing I would say is, you know, it says it's a 10-inch square, but actually these finish at, I think, 8.5. So there's a reasonable amount of wastage, but it does also mean that you can be a slightly bit more careful and fussy cut it, so you can move it from one side to the other or up and down to try and get what you want in with it. I have fussy cut the Alice and the Queen. Other than that, I just cut them as they came. And then I love scrappy quilts. I know this isn't truly scrappy because it's from a fat quarter bundle, but I do love, you know, mixy matchy scrappy, but only to a certain point. So I was beginning to send myself slightly mad, trying to make sure I didn't have the same colour repeating twice in a block, and oh dear, and then laying it out. I didn't want too many Alices and Queens next to each other, but I worked out, I think I had one for each row. The whole, you know, the whole shebang as you do. So I ordered extra yardage for the sashing, which are these, the deck of cards, which goes from sort of purples and greens to reds and yellows. And then I ordered extra yardage of exactly the same print but on dark for the border, bound it with the sashing. And then on the back, I had a cunning plan that I was going to, on the back, write a whole load of phrases from Alice in Wonderland, and then sort of hand quilt those phrases onto the back of it, because I thought it would look quite cool. And then I was walking the dog, and I realised that if I wrote it on the back and hand quilted it, it would be the wrong way on the front, and you'd probably struggle to see it anyway. So then I didn't really know what to do with it. So I ended up using my Inktense pencils. Just bought a big strip of calico. Did I have to join? I don't think I even had to join actually. So with my Inktense pencils, I just wrote a whole load of phrases, various names, some rather dubious drawings of diamonds and hearts, and just used all the different colours. And basically with these Inktense pencils, you write them on and then you go over them with water. So I just took a fine paintbrush and went over them with water, and then you iron them, which sets them. So it should be completely washable. Note the word should be, because I've never used them before and I've never washed them before. So we shall see. But, you know, it's the back of the quilt, so if it just ends up a smudgy mess, it ends up a smudgy mess. It's not quite as obviously neat, artistic and fantastic as I'd planned it, because that's just me. But it was good fun to do, actually. It was good fun to do. My only thing would be here on this diamond, you can see it, there's a line there. That's an iron line. So I'd done the outline, coloured it in, painted water, put water on with a paintbrush over it to make the colour sort of pop and stand out and help to set it, and then put the iron on it. And I didn't want to move the iron, but the iron didn't cover the entire piece, and you've got this very definite line across the middle. So that would be my only warning. if you're using these Inktense pencils, is to make sure whatever you're colouring in is smaller than your iron, so you can iron it all in one go. Otherwise you seem to get this line. And I don't really know how you go around that. I don't know whether you could just do half, iron it, and then fill in the next half, or overlap it a little bit. So then, I don't know, but there we go. So that's just something to bear in mind if you do use your Inktense pencils in any way. Again, with this quilt, I did put a batting in here because the calico on the back was quite see-through, and obviously you could see all the seams, etc. if I'd just have done it as a coverlet. So I put the batting in, and then I hand tied this one. I've had a real hand tying month or two. I just used DMC threads, and actually looking at it like that, you can't really, yeah, they're not jumping out of the screen, which I'm quite pleased about, because I mean, I enjoy, sorry, head cut off, I enjoy hand tying quilts. I just don't particularly like the look of all the threads on the front of them. So this one took me a little bit longer because I went through my DMC stash from my cross stitch, and I tried to match it as closely as I could to where I was going to tie it. So I was swapping threads constantly. And then eventually I realised just go along a line, come back along the line. But then I was constantly going back and checking that I'd done the correct amount in each square and all the rest of it. But anyway, I'm quite pleased with it because you can't, I mean, you can. I think when you sort of see it over a curve like that, you can obviously see them. But I think if you're just standing looking at a block, they're not really jumping out at you. So I'm quite pleased with that, even though it took a bit of extra time. So yeah, so I'm really pleased with that quilt. And I've had a few people saying, well, who's that for? It's for me because I like Alice in Wonderland, and I'm quite happy to have an Alice in Wonderland quilt. I think they were expecting me to give it to one of the children, and that's not going to happen. So yeah, so that's the second finished quilt top. So I'm just going to move that one so I can sit down eventually. And then the third quilt, I am so close with this quilt. And this is, oh, bit of thread to pull out there. So this is the Kathryn Kerr Etoiles Rouge block of the week, which I joined and started in January 21. Should have finished it January 22, and I'm just getting to the end of it now. So I'll show you a photo of what it should look like, or will look like. Here we go. So it is basically, it features 49 variations on the traditional Ohio Star block. And it was a block a week. So that is what it will end up looking like. So I think Kathryn Kerr used French General fabrics basically. Now I have used some, but I wanted to make it more of a Christmas themed quilt. So I got some gold and green to add into it. And I really, really do like it. It's very much, I found with these sort of blocks of the month, I tend to cut 3 or 4 months worth, stack them up on plates, and then it's easier to just pull them out and sew them together. And I've just been going row by row. So this is row 1. It's big quilt. They're big blocks, and there's going to be 49 of them. So at the moment, you will have seen these bits before, because I've had these done. Excuse all the threads, they just need cutting off. So I've done lots and lots of different. I'll bring the narrow row in for you to see the different fabrics in it, because they're not really showing up here. So I think I've got 1, 2, 3, 2, 4, 5. I've got 5 rows sewn together and actually put together. I finished my 6th row yesterday at a quilt group. So here we go. So we've got the sort of gold leaf fabric, this pretty bauble fabric. These are my sort of backgrounds, but they've got a little bit of a gold leaf on them. You can see the yellow and green in the middle. for the sashing, or gold and green in the middle for the sashing. Now oh sorry, I'm disappearing again. I posted pictures of these on Instagram, and this block, one of these corners have been turned the wrong way by accident, by me. Oh, you know, surprise, surprise. And I was like, can I live with it? Can I live with it? And when I took it to the quilting group yesterday and I showed them, they sort of said, no, just turn the block around, don't be so lazy. So I did, I just took it out and twisted it around, and I'm pleased I have done. So yeah. So this row got reasonably technical with some of the blocks. She seems to, the first couple of weeks were reasonably easy. We've then had sort of 3 or 4 weeks, or 3 or 4 months, or 3 or 4 rows, I suppose is probably the best way to describe it, where they've been slightly more challenging. Nothing's been impossible. The odd thing I've had to pull back or rip out because I've either put it in the wrong way, or there has been the odd error on her pattern where, you know, sort of you've cut a block and just gone, oh, that's completely the wrong size, isn't it? But on the whole, you know, really easy to follow, really good instructions. Her website, the Kathryn Kerr website, so I paid for this block of the week. However, she has numerous quilts on there, quite a few of which are free. If you sign up for the free quilts, or if you sign up for any of these quilts, you have access to her website. And her website is really, really good. She describes all the techniques, and yeah, and it's always there for you able to use. So I will be pleased when this is done. But I am now again enjoying it because I've nearly finished it, which is always the way, isn't it? So we'll end up with a binding. Excuse me. It will end up with not a binding, a border. And then I'm going to obviously back it, probably with a bit of a nicer backing than the other 2 quilts. And I'm considering, because I've never done it before, I'm considering doing hand quilting, but with the sort of the long running stitch, or the big stitch hand quilting, I think it's called. I need to look into it, but it's something I've never tried before, and I'd like to give it a go. So that's 2 finished quilts. 1 quilt that's so close, I can smell the finish on it. And then I have started another one. I've only just started it. I made myself fully finish the other 2, and then I knew I was so close with the Etoiles Rouge, I was just like, oh, I've just got started. So I signed up for the Laundry Basket Quilts Lady Tulip block of the month. So obviously that's coming from America. And you had the 2 options of, you could either buy the fabric or you could buy the pre-cut pieces for the blocks. And I sort of ummed and ahed, and I was thinking, well, if I bought the fabric and cut it carefully, I would have leftover fabric. But if I cut it wrong, then I'd be absolutely stuffed. And so what it came down to was the price. And when I went onto the website, they were both irrelevant of whether you bought the pre-cut or you bought the fabric to cut yourself. The monthly charge was the same. So I thought I would give the pre-cut blocks a go, just because I've always found it interesting and I just wanted to give it a go. So when it eventually finishes, because I mean this started, I think we're already on to month 8 or 9, and I've only just started it because I'm not going to start it until I've got these 2, 3 complete. So this is, oh actually if I hold it that way you might get a better view. So this is what it will look like in the end. And I've been watching a few of her videos recently, and she's had it hanging behind her. So pretty, absolutely love it. And I was sort of looking at it thinking, oh, is that the quilt I'm making? I hope so. So what happens is monthly you get your little package, and it is very little. Comes, as I said, it's come from America. I haven't been, sorry, I keep on wobbling the camera. Haven't been charged any customs. Yeah, and to be fair to them, every month it's arrived. Obviously a bit later than everyone else has got theirs because it's got to come across the pond. And I'm loving it. I love these pre-cut. I mean, I know cheating is the wrong word, but it does, you know, take out a lot of the work within making a quilt, cutting. And it's one of the things I find hardest. I don't mind cutting, but I can never quite get it square, or it's never quite the size it's supposed to, which obviously then impacts further down the line. But anyway, So this is month 1, or block 1, sorry. So each month you get 3 blocks, and of those 3 blocks you make 3 pieces. So I've got 1, 2, 3 identical pieces. So essentially you're making 9 blocks a month, which if I was having to cut the fabric out would take me an awfully long time. But because it's just pre-cut and the instructions are really clear, and so far so good, they've been, you know, really quite easy blocks, I'm whizzing through them. It's great, I love it. But I keep on saying to myself, do a couple of these and then go back to your Etoiles Rouge and just, yeah, don't let that one languish. This is block 2. So again, very simple block, but lovely, lovely colours. So I'm just making sure they're all labelled back as they were, otherwise I'll get confused. Doesn't take much. This is block 3. So that's the first month done. And I think I probably did it within 2 sessions, 2 sort of, you know, hour and a half sessions of quilting. So that's block 3. Just finished block 4. And so that's block 4. Oh, actually, sorry, I think it goes, yeah, because they are directional. I have tried to keep them directional. So I must remember that when I put it in the quilt. So yeah, so those are the first 4 blocks. I've obviously got a lot more to go, but I'm really, really enjoying doing them. Love the pre-cut pieces. You know, to date, I've had all the pieces that I need to have in my package. They are slightly overcut because that obviously was the other thought, which I didn't actually have until I started it, was, oh, if I go wrong and have to rip it out and ruin a bit of fabric, I'm going to be a bit stuffed. But actually they are slightly oversized, so you always trim it down. There's a bit of wiggle room. So absolutely love it. Highly recommend it if, you know, you've often, because I've always looked at her and think, I love all of her projects, I love all of her patterns, love all of her fabrics, and always thought I'd really love to do it. And I don't know quite why that day I decided to push the button and do it. So pleased I have. It's going to be a lovely quilt. Really looking forward to carrying on working on that. So those are the quilts I'm currently working on or finishing. And then I have plans. Oh, I know what I didn't look up. I'll look that up in a minute. Sorry, so I have plans. So my first plan is that I'm starting a quilt with Penelope _pins on Instagram. So I hope you're ready, Pen, because I am. And it's been a little bit stressful getting all of this organised. So I met Penelope at the Essex Needles retreat this March. And she's also doing the Gigi Morris dancer cross stitch piece with us. Sorry, I can't remember the word then. And obviously we're chatting away about quilting because she also quilts. And I said I had the Jane Austen coverlet pattern. And she said that she had the Jane Austen kit and maybe we should start it together. And so we've sort of messaged backwards and forwards and we're going to start it on the 1st of December. So I've mentioned this once or twice and I've had people sort of say to me, what is the Jane Austen quilt stroke coverlet? And so let me just take this piece of paper. So this essentially, so I've just got a pen in here to try and actually, I'll take the pen out. See if I can remember this. So this essentially is the coverlet itself. So you've got a medallion in the middle, big diamonds around the outside with sashing, and then these tiny diamonds around the border. It's all symmetrical. So what's here is here. And actually blocks of this are symmetrical, you know, across that side. So the actual history of the original coverlet, I'll quickly skim through. The original quilt is believed to have been made by Jane and Cassandra Austen and their mother in the early 1800s. The quilt is frequently referred to as a coverlet. Although it was pieced by the 3 Austen ladies, it is most commonly referred to as Jane Austen's quilt. The Austen ladies pieced their quilt by hand in the English method. The quilt is in the style of a medallion quilt. However, it differs from most medallion quilts of this era. The medallion was usually framed by many borders. This quilt was designed on point, but the medallion was cut as a diamond, which from that moment gave this quilt its unique design. The central diamond of the coverlet is a chintz piece with an image of flowers in a basket topped by 2 dear little birds. The Austens did not put their fabrics together haphazardly. Sorry, lots of the fabrics were fussy cut. Fabrics in the quilt would have come from dressmaking and furnishing scraps. The outer border of the quilt is made of over 2,500 tiny diamonds. Looking forward to that part. Excuse me whilst I'm just... No, I think that's about it. So basically, this is a reasonably famous quilt that Jane Austen and her mother and sister made. And it does hang somewhere. It's hanging in a museum somewhere in England. I can't remember where, but it does hang somewhere. So yeah, so there we go. That's the Jane Austen quilt. Now, I bought this pattern from Rosalee Clark, who was a lady in Australia that had worked it all out of how to make it, basically. And you could either buy it to make by hand or to make by machine. And I decided to make it by hand. Might be regretting that slightly now. But yeah, so I think a lot of people have made this quilt / coverlet. And I think a lot of them keep quite faithfully to the fabrics that are in it. Yeah, this is a booklet. There is so much in here, so much detail, breaks it down so it is quite understandable, exactly where you need to place your fabrics, etc, etc, etc. Now, I love the quilt as it is, but when I bought all my scraps out and was trying to match the scraps to the fabrics that were described in the book, I wasn't liking it. And I think that's probably just more my scraps than anything else. And so I'm going down a slightly different route, because ultimately, at the end of the day, the main thing I love about this quilt is the design itself. I love the medallion and I love the fact that it's got all the diamonds around it. And so I had bought earlier in the summer a fat quarter bundle of the latest French General line, which is Bonheur du Jour, which in my rather crappy translation, I think means happy hour, 2 for 1 on spirits. But yeah, so, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So I'm going to sort of, lots of lovely prints, lots of lovely colours. Now, is that one out of the same thing? No, that's a different one. So I'm going to keep going through. So this is the fat quarter bundle. So it's predominantly red, but then it's either on cream, white, grey. Take that one out, take that one out. So I bought this fat quarter bundle from Doughty's, which is a big quilt shop in England online. They keep on sending me lots of emails with lots of sales and offers, which is really unfair because I do keep on buying them. So lots of lovely, lovely, pretty pinks. I don't dislike pink, but it has to be the right sort of pink, and that is the right sort of pink. This is lovely. showing you all of these just because they're pretty, but I also want some opinions at the end of it, please. Because I have a dilemma. So, getting to the end now. So as you can see, this is, she says as she holds up a grey piece, a predominantly red based line, which, you know, I think a lot of French general fabrics are. Is this part of it? Can't remember if this was. No, I don't think that was. Sorry. Red and whites. So here we've got the greys, reds, and then a red and white. So, as you can see from that, lots of lovely, lovely fabrics, but predominantly red heavy. And what I didn't want to end up with was a red and white version of this Jane Austen's quilt. I've already got a red and white quilt. And there are certain aspects where you can see some there's blues there, there's quite strong yellows, there's some darker fabrics, and a lot of these fabrics here also then reappear in the border, although the border is obviously a lot darker. So what I did was I went online and I found some yellows and blues from older French general lines. So I'm very happy with these. I won't use all of these. You've got various, I mean, it even defines it down to, you know, your Diamond 1C is a large print on blue. And then, you know, Diamond 1B is a small print on brown or what have you. So I bought these blues and yellows to mix in with all the reds, because then I hoped it would break it up a little bit. I had a bit of a dilemma about my sashing, because the sashing on this is a cream with a little brown polka dot on it. Couldn't find anything that I liked, really struggled. Ended up in Liverpool and went to, is it Akbarn or Akbarn Fabrics, which is quite an amazing place. And I found, fortunately, this cream with the red, it's a little flower actually on it, which I really, really like, because initially I was thinking about using something like this, one of these, ordering more meterage of one of these sorts of ones, but actually still this is predominantly red as you look at it, and I thought it's just going to be red everywhere. So my dilemma is, I did also buy, so this is La Vie Boheme, sorry. I bought some charm packs. These are, again, got the blues in, and these are more for the back for these smaller diamonds, because you need a lot, yes, you need a lot more fabrics variation within that. Now my dilemma, or not my dilemma, but for a long time, I want to put some brown in it, and I don't know why, but I want to put some brown in it. So just to give that bit more breakup of colour, so this has got quite a lot of brown on it, but you can't really find, or I haven't really looked, to be honest with you, you can't really find brown French general fabric. They have the greys, which I suppose I could use instead of the browns. But, and this is my question, do you think I should put some brown in? So I've been through my stash. So I have this. And bearing in mind the diamonds on the back, around the edge are quite dark, I think I need a bit of sort of brown or darker fabric to be using that. Or there's this. and this one has actually got a blue on it, but if I put it with, no, that's not the one. Oh, well, if I put it with these blues, oh, actually, that looks a bit greener there. Sorry, the light's obviously changing as I have been. Yeah, I'm not actually 100% sure about that one now. Don't think it does go quite as well as I thought it did earlier this morning. That one to one side. And I've also picked out this green because it does. Sorry, I've got fabric everywhere now. All my neat piles have gone. It does go with the greens in here. Oh, I've got this very big print of browns and greens and yellows and reds, which goes across. Oh, and that's quite pink actually. That goes with the pink. So I think, with the exception of this one, which on the second look probably isn't as good, I think I could add, certainly into the bigger diamonds, a bit of green and a bit of brown. And these ones go mix nicely with French General, but do I just keep it pure French General or do I mix this in? So what do you think? So I've got reds, you know, heavy reds, predominantly reds, and light pinks and creams. I've got the blues and the yellows. Do I add in browns? Oh, sorry, you're not seeing these very well. Green, or one of or two of the browns and some green. So that's what I'd like some help with. Do you think I should just keep it completely French General down the line or add a few other fabrics into it? And this is mainly, as I said, for these big diamonds in the centre. So I've got enough fabric of whatever I choose to cut those out, because I think you only need 5 or 6 of various ones and only 2 of others. But I just think it would break it up a little bit. But would it then obviously look like a French General quilt with a couple of other fabrics stuck in? I don't know. Give me your opinions. But whatever, I am starting this on the 1st of December. I think, well, because I'm hand piecing, my first job will be to print all my papers, cut them out, and spend Christmas time wrapping the fabrics around the paper, once I've chosen which fabrics are going where. So, sorry, I now have a complete mess in front of me. So that's my first plan for the 1st of December, my Jane Austen coverlet. And then I'm just going to see if I can talk and look something up at the same time. So if I start talking gobbledygook, you know why. So I have signed up for a block of the month, because obviously I keep up with them so well. And it is through So Hot, and it is called Caution, Curves Ahead by Jen Kingwell. Now, for those of you that might have watched my previous ones, you know that I will have started a Jen Kingwell quilt. Well, I have abandoned that one. It was a Dear Jen, and I've abandoned it for 2 reasons. The main reason was that would have to be a focus quilt throughout the year, because it takes quite a lot of work by the time you've cut the templates and cut everything out. And so it really, I know I was trying to work it in with 3 or 4 other quilts, and it was just, I wasn't getting anywhere. And I wasn't actually enjoying the scrappy quilt. I wasn't enjoying the scraps I was using. They were very bright fabrics that were just complete scraps from whichwhere and everywhere, and I just wasn't enjoying working with them. I'd rather use colours that I like and fabrics that I like, to be honest with you. So I will get back to that. So I'm just looking, I will get back to that one eventually, one of these days. but for the moment this has been put aside. But I have decided to sign up, as I said, for this Jen Kingwell, Caution Curves Ahead quilt block of the month. And let me see if I can bring this up so all you can see is this picture. Oh, hang on. Oh, there we go. At last, got it. So that is what I'm hoping to make. And those are, so you can get it in two different colourways, coastal colours or bright colours. So that's the bright colours, which I haven't gone for. I have gone for the coastal colours, the more pastel-y colours, because I thought this would be a lovely spring, summer quilt. I think it's going to be quite difficult, but apparently Jen talks you through it, holds your hand step by step. It starts in December and runs for 12 months. So that is why I really want to get that final block of the month quilt finished there. So I've got 2 new starts in December, but I'm assuming again, this is coming from Australia. So it's got to get from Australia to England and so hot out to us. So I'm assuming that I'm not going to be getting this much before the back end of the month. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm assuming. So, yeah, we shall see. I think it looks like there's a plique, there's piecing, hand piecing, a plique, and hopefully machine piecing. But yeah, I'm quite looking forward to that. It'll be interesting to see how I get on. So those are my plans to finish the Etoiles Rouge, to start the Jane Austen, and start the Caution Curves Ahead. I think that will take me over Christmas into the new year, obviously, quite well. Purchases. We have been to lots of quilt shows over the last 6 to 8 months, which has been great. Most of the time I've just been picking up fabric, but I have picked up a couple of patterns. So this is White Cottage Country Crafts, which is a stall that I seem to say we see more in the south than at sort of our northern shows. I don't know much about them, but they have a few patterns. And I bought this one. Now, I won't be doing it in that colour, in those colours, but it is a Civil War. This quilt is made of 50 different 6-inch blocks, alternating with 49 courthouse steps blocks. And the 49 steps are the triangles around the edge. I can't believe that's 49 of them. I don't know where else they are. Find out when I make it. Yeah, so basically at some point that is a quilt kit that I would like to get around to making. And then my mega purchase, I went to the Festival of Quilts at the NEC in Birmingham this August. Now, I've never been before because we're normally busy. We'd finished, you know, I sort of realised, oh, it's in 3 days' time, booked a ticket and just went with my friend. Not sure I would rush to get, I'm glad I've been, not sure I'd rush to get back there. We didn't really get the opportunity to look at all of the quilts, which I would have liked to have done. And with the exception of one stall, which I'll talk about later, the selection of stalls there with the fabrics that they had, none of them really jumped out at me. I was really pleased that I went because Somerset Designs had a stall there. Now that's an Australian company again, and I've got 2 of their quilt patterns, neither of which I've started, but again, they're medallion quilts, absolutely love them. And so I bought the third of the sort of 3. They're reasonably similar. They're all medallion quilts, but they're her sort of big 3 ones. So this is Mrs. Billings Coverlet, Karen Styles, of Somerset Designs, and she signed it for me. So yeah, so I bought the pattern, well, the pack, and it comes with templates. Not cheap, not gonna lie, it wasn't cheap. I'm not complaining about the price it was, I'm just saying it wasn't cheap. I did walk out with my friend saying, well, my bag has never felt so light and my bag balance has never felt so low. Normally there's hauls of fabric that we're coming out with that we've got from the scrap bins or sales or, you know, what have you. And I literally walked out with one pattern. But I'm really looking forward to it. What does it say here? Mrs. Billings Coverlet was designed as a Border of the Month quilt for Somerset Patchwork 2011. Our version of this lovely quilt was inspired by an antique coverlet originally made in England around 1790 and attributed to the Billings family. It is currently in the collection of the York Museum UK. So when we go to York, I'll have to go and have a look at it. We've brought this intricate frame quilt into excuse me, into the 21st century using modern piecing techniques and tools. And that is hexagon piecing for the final border around the edge. So that's another gigantic project to be started after some of my other gigantic projects have been completed. Excuse me. I think that might have finished. Now, another big purchase I made, or actually John made, he bought this for my birthday. And I'm a bit in two minds about it. I would say, with the caveat, maths is not my strong point. More than happy to admit I am not mathematical scientific. But I am quite happy if I want to put blocks into a quilt or take blocks out of a quilt. I can work the maths out on that. I double check it, leave it for 24 hours, go back, make sure I've done it. So for me, putting together a sampler quilt would be quite enjoyable. It's something I would like to do, just pick favourite blocks, put them together for whatever reason. And so I ended up buying this, which is the Quilter's album of patchwork patterns by Jen Kingwell. Sorry if I've said that wrong. And it's, sorry, I don't know what's the matter with me. Oh, it's a book and a half. But what this is, and I'll just, because this doesn't actually give a huge amount away, I'll just quickly show it. So what this is just an absolute Bible of all the different quilt blocks there are out there, all the different shapes and sizes. More than 4,050 pieced blocks for quilters. So I was like, woo, great, excellent. That's the sort of thing I'd like, because then I can just start making blocks randomly and putting them together into quilts. However, this is based a lot on maths, so you don't get given the sizes of the block. So obviously, you know it's a 6-inch block, but you don't then get given the sizes of the pieces to put together to make the block. You're told how to work it out with mathematical reasoning and ability, neither of which I have. So the easier blocks I can do. I think after about page 8, I start to get lost. As I've said, if you are mathematically inclined, this is the book for you. And the one thing that was in it, or is not in it, is the formula. So, you know, if you want a half square triangle, 3-inch half square triangle, you actually cut the initial square at whatever size you cut it at. And that's not even in it to give you any help whatsoever. I did eventually find that in a very cheap book I bought from a charity shop, which has got 101 blocks in it, and, you know, very similar to this. It's a lovely coffee table book. It's a lovely book because you've got so many colour variations in it, and, you know, similar blocks, but the colours are switched, and, you know, you can see the difference it makes. So from that point of view, it's great. I did actually use it when I was hand tying my Alice in Wonderland quilt, to balance the quilt on the other side so it didn't slide off the end of the table. So it's very useful from that point of view. But yeah, the problem was the stall that I bought this from is a shop that I use a lot, really, really like. But they only ever have 1 or 2 in stock. It's reasonably pricey, so they don't have a flick through version. Now, if I'd been able to flick it through, I would have realised that, you know, it was above and beyond me. Yeah, so I bought it. And I don't dislike it, but I'm not going to be using it a huge amount, you know. So it's just a word of warning. If you've seen this and you can't see inside it, yes, it's fantastic, but you have to be very good at maths to be, well, in my mind, you have to be very good at maths to be able to use it. So there we go. So that was another big purchase this summer from John, which was lovely. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is I have finally found a shop in England that specialises in Civil War reproduction fabrics. And that shop is called Biggar Stitches. And actually they're not in England, they're in Scotland, they're in Winnebray, Skirling, yeah, north of the border. I will write their details below. So I've seen them at a couple of shows, and I sort of mentioned to one of the ladies that I'd like to start, if possible, a monthly club for me, a 1-person club, where I receive some fat quarters or half meters of fabric, and would she be able to work anything out? And one of the ladies was very, very good, and she sorted it all out for me. So every month I receive 6 fat halves. She's just working her way through the selection in the shops, going from colour to, you know, she's doing the creams, then she's done the mustards and the browns and the greens. She's got a little book that she just keeps it all in, what she has sent me previously. And it's just once she's organised it, she then bills me and it just gets taken straight out. So once a month, I now have a lovely, lovely package of quilting fabric that turns up. So I can start making a stash. So I'm not going to show them all individually because I've had quite a few months now, but I've got a whole load of greens that have come through. I have a whole load of not mustards, they're sort of just tanny brownies. I don't know how you'd quite call it. Yeah, these are the same patterns, just in a slightly different tone. Not many browns, but I've got a few browns that have come through. Oh, I've got more browns under that. I've just messed all of these up. Creams, I love these creams. Creams and some darker ones on. Another brown I'd missed earlier. And more creams with, sorry, I'm not doing a very good job of showing these, am I? Creams, some with lighter patterns on. Yeah, so I'm really, really enjoying that. It was just something, it's not something I think at the moment that they're running, but I think they might be looking into doing a monthly club. All I said, or my main reason for doing it individually was that, you know, monthly clubs are great, but actually I don't want the sweets. I don't want the recipes for blueberry muffins. I just want fabric. So that is what I've managed to organise, and I love it. And, you know, up till now, we've had absolutely no issues. They've been really good. There was 1 month, it was a little bit late because the lady had COVID and didn't feel very well. So, you know, fair enough. But to be honest with you, it's not until the very end of the month, I think, but it's normally always here anyway. So, you know, good service and lovely fabrics. So I will write them again, Biggar Stitches, and I'll write their details down below. And I've seen them they tend to do the bigger quilt shows. So they were at the Festival of Quilts, so it's lovely to actually meet them at the Festival of Quilts. They were at Malvern. I don't know whether they'd be at Harrogate or not, but certainly the smaller ones that we do, they're not at. But yeah, so there we go. I think that is now everything that I have to talk about. Oh my goodness me, this is a long one. I'm sorry, there's obviously been a lot of waffling. Thank you for watching. I hope you like what you've seen. If you've got any opinions on the French General, Jane Austen, brown fabric saga, please do let me know, preferably before the 1st of December, so I can get myself organised. And other than that, I hope to be back probably now at the end of December, I should imagine. So yeah, happy quilting, happy December, happy Christmas and a Merry New Year. First time I've said that and it feels a bit weird, but yeah, looking forward to Christmas. So anyway, thank you for watching, take care, bye.